Hello, it is the world according to Ali, episode 13. It is, what's the date today? It's the 3rd of April, 2016, Sunday. Question 1 from Justin Green, food. So, should one eat at set times a day, at set intervals in time, or should one eat when hungry? Right then, let's go back into it. So, basically, this is a question about meal time, right? And it's an interesting question because a lot of people ask this sort of stuff. And one of the things that's missing, I suppose, in a way from the question is the context of a goal. But also what's kind of interesting is because normally when people they add a goal into the question, like I want to lose weight, I want to gain muscle, I want to perform better. Meal timing might have a bit more relevance depending on the goal. But I say might because you know what, to be honest with you, the short answer is that meal timing isn't that important. Controversial. It's just not. For example, the question of like, should you eat at set intervals or set times, or should you just eat when hungry? Kind of, those are two different approaches. But then there's the other approach, okay, which isn't mentioned in the question, which I think is the optimal approach, right? The really big problem with eating, if you're asking a question like this about eating, is probably because you lose control for whatever reason, yeah? So in this day and age, most problems with eating are down to emotional issues. You know, it's not like there's a shortage of food for anyone. So with that being that, generally people are overeating. People overeat a lot of the time just because, usually with issues, you know, stress, convenience, the way food is packaged, the way food is presented, the way things are added to it, so on and so forth. So, I'll answer the hunger bit. Should you eat when hungry? No, you shouldn't. Hunger is something that might have been relevant many years ago. When I say many years ago, I mean a long, long time ago. But in this day and age, hunger really isn't that relevant. You can't even starve yourself to death because the government will get involved and not allow that to happen, because no civilised government wants other civilised governments or people to know that they allow people to starve to death. It looks bad. So they will force feed you. You know what I mean? If you're like that, fuck it, I'm not going to eat ever again. They're going to stick fucking tubes up your nose, down your neck, up your arsehole, and they will put food in you. So it's really, really hard to starve to death, right? In this modern society. To all you people out there living in famine, I'm sorry, that wasn't addressing you. So should you eat when you're hungry? No. And then you get the hilarious question, but how do I deal with my hunger? Yeah, motherfucker. Because you haven't already had 1, 2 or 3 meals already today and you're starving to death. Whatever, yeah? Seriously. Hunger is one of those things, you know? Like, I equate it now to like, you're walking down the high street and you need to take a shit. Do you drop your trousers and do a shit in the middle of the high street? If you do, you end up in the newspaper, as someone did last year, I believe, which is amazing. But that's kind of the extremeness of it, you know? So you need to take a shit, you wait until you get to a fucking toilet. You don't fucking shit yourself right there in the middle of the high street. Hunger is a little bit like that. I know that sounds extreme, but hear me out. You're not going to die if you feel hunger. It takes a really long time to die of hunger. Really, really, really long time. Yeah? Well, die of starvation rather. You're not going to die because you feel hungry. Right? Eating when you're hungry is bad because you're being manipulated by a lot of the stuff, you know, processed sugars and stuff like that manipulate hormonal reactions to food, which then can make you feel hungry for no good reason, so on and so forth. So all you motherfuckers out there eating when you're hungry, stop it. Okay? And then the other thing about eating at set intervals, set times, Atlas stones. The other thing about, you know, eating at set times, set intervals, there's no need. There's no need. the supplement industry have had that whole thing, you know, where they've said, oh, to get lean, you need to eat like 6 meals a day or every 3 hours, or your body will go catabolic. Shut up with that shit, right? No, just no, okay? It's a good spiel, because in order for you to think, oh my God, I must have 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 meals a day. Oh my God, I must eat every 2 hours. I must eat every hour and a half, or I'll go catabolic, blah, blah, blah. They know full well that you're not going to be in the kitchen all that fucking time preparing all them fucking meals, right? So what are you going to do? You're going to have a bunch of supplements, because they're easy. Your shaker, your pre-workout, your peri-workout, your post-workout. Fuck off. Seriously, right? It's all crap. Body doesn't work like that, okay? So, with that, okay, doorbell is annoying me. The wind shakes the door. Anyway, should you eat at set time, set intervals? No. The best approach, the way to control your weight, and you see your body as a bank account, right? Does it matter if you put in 10 £10 deposits into your bank account a day, or one £100 deposit in a day? Still £100 going into your bank account. If you just think of it like that, things are a lot simpler, yeah? So do you really want to be bothered eating 10 times a day? Seriously? And then that fits in with the whole, oh, but I'm hungry. Shut up, right? Now, if you need to get some help to figure out how much food you need in a day, fair enough. But once you have a rough idea of how much food you need in a day, and there's a really objective way of measuring that, and that's the scales and also body composition, right? Really, you can split it up, move it around, however is easiest for your life. You don't need to eat at a set time, and you don't have to eat when you're hungry. Okay, so for me the optimal approach is figure out with experience or advice or whatever, well, how much food you need to eat in a particular day, or for example, it may be different on days that you train hard, and it may be different on days that you don't train hard or don't train at all. Who doesn't train at all? Weirdos. So, you know, you have that, you know, figure out what it is with that you operate on. And then just have that planned out. And you can literally, if you want to, eat all of it in one go, if that's the only window you've got to eat, or you can split it up, or whatever, you know. The body in this case is a bit of a bank account. And yes, sometimes there will be issues with meal timing, like for example, you wouldn't want to eat all of your day's food and then immediately go and do a run, yeah, because you're going to, right? But people get hung up on a lot of these silly details when they haven't got the basics in place. You've got the basics in place, the fundamentals, the things that will actually determine, the determining factors towards your success. Pretty much everything will take care of itself, and you can worry about the tiny little details if something you need to tweak. If you worry about the details first, putting the cart before the horse, yeah? Get the fundamentals in place, right? And you'll know if you've got the fundamentals in place because you'll start heading in the right direction. And there's none of this shit about what works for you might not work for me. No, the physiology is so fucking similar between all of us, okay, that if you get it right, you will start heading towards success, whatever your goal may be. So stop thinking about, you know, all these little details and individualism and all that shit, bollocks, okay? The very narrow path for success. Get on it and away you go. Okay, so yeah, very good question, because kind of like gone off on a right tangent then. I hope that all made sense. Right then, question 2 from Angela Owens is, what ratio of cardio and strength training will be best to help with optimal weight loss? Back in the gym. Right, so this is another one of them questions, a bit like the one I just answered, where the question asked is kind of like skirting around the issue, because really what it boils down to with weight loss is that training isn't a direct massive help. Again, more controversy, but reason being is the number one determining factor, not contributing, determining factor for weight loss is basically what you don't eat. Okay? It's not even what you eat, it's what you don't eat. That's it. It's as simple as that. Okay? Might not be easy, and people may think, oh, I'm dumbing it down or whatever. Don't care. It is as simple as that. Because activity, unless you're really going for it for an entire day over and over and over constantly, doesn't have as much of an impact as the food that you eat. It's just really simple as that. With the amount of calories that you can stuff in your gob in a matter of seconds, and the amount of effort it takes to burn off a few calories, you know, it's always a losing fight unless you understand what is the single biggest determining factor for your success. So with weight loss, what's the best ratio of strength to cardio? Irrelevant, really, to be honest with you. Completely irrelevant. One of the things though with this is that exercise helps the psychology of sticking with a diet. So I'm not saying that exercise doesn't help, it does. Exercise helps because as part of a regime, as part of an ongoing discipline, you know, it strengthens you, not just physically, but mentally. And so you're more likely to stick to something that gives you weight loss in terms of what you're eating or not eating, if you're also exercising at the same time. So then the ratio of that, of should you do more of this, should you do more of that, do more of what you want to do, what you enjoy, but also takes you to the goals that you want. You know, do you need more cardiovascular fitness? Is that how you prefer to train? Do you want to do more strength training? Is that how you prefer to train? Whatever, right? But that's just weight loss. If we now start moving into body composition, in terms of being leaner, you know, when you're losing weight, you don't just want to lose weight, you want to change the shape of your body. Now the question's a bit different. And I know that that wasn't the question asked, but I'm going to answer it anyway. Now the ratio changes, okay? Because cardiovascular training doesn't give you the muscular overload that strength training does. So if you're losing weight, but you want the body to prioritize lean tissue over fat tissue, in other words, when you're losing weight, you want the weight loss to be more of fat, then you need to do strength training, because you need to basically make the body think, you know what, we're losing weight right now, but of a more immediate concern is that big heavy weight that's crushing us to death. Then your body will keep more muscle. Then as you lose weight, you get leaner. Whereas if you do cardio, there's not that primary need. So the body will jettison muscle, okay, when it loses weight. So weight loss is one thing, body composition is another. I think if there's anything else really in that I need to answer. But in terms of ratios, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not bagging on cardio either. You know, don't think that. Do cardio because you need cardiovascular fitness, you need cardiovascular health, so on and so forth. But understand what they're for, you know what I mean? You wouldn't use a spanner to undo a screw, right? Get the right tool for the right job. Understand what the tools are, understand what you want, understand how the task goes about it. And if you don't know, then ask someone who knows. But yeah, I think that'll do. Right then, question 3 from Nicholas Coe. Is it possible for me to look like Grigor Clegane, or is it a genetic impossibility? Body-wise, I mean. See, I didn't know who Grigor Clegane. I'm not looking at the screen anymore, can't remember. Grigor whatever. But who's that? More controversy, I didn't know who that was. And apparently that's the Mountain's name in Game of Thrones, played by Thor the strongman. Oh my god, I'm sorry I didn't know. I tried watching Game of Thrones, but unfortunately other factors didn't allow me to get into the show. Alright, one day I might actually get around to watching it. So I'm sorry, I don't know who Grigor, Clegane, whatever. See, when I looked at the question, I thought, oh, is this some cover model? You know, who's all like pretty buoyed up and got shocked abs and all that malarkey. Log now. But yeah, no, it's not. It's the mountain. People want to look like the mountain. Interesting. So, is it a genetic impossibility to go from being 6 foot tall to 7 foot tall? Yeah, but that's that's giving a shirty answer, isn't it? Really, that's not like a proper answer. If we discard height because that's an obvious genetic thing, we've got some things to look at now. is it genetically possible for someone like Thor to look like he does genetically? You know what, it is an impossibility, because you know these guys are on a lot of steroids, right? So they've already gone past their genetic capability. So put that there first and foremost, right? Steroids take you beyond your genetic capability. They're the only thing currently that can do that. And so when you're looking at people like that and you think, is that beyond my genetic capability? Understand it's beyond their genetic capability anyway. And they might have amazing genetics as well. So that's that part of it, okay? But then the other answer is, then if you do everything that he's doing, can you look like that? You know what? You're not going to look exactly like that. But if you are willing, you can become your own version of that. You won't be exactly the same because there's too many little differences, right? But again, going back to that whole thing that as a species, we are very similar. We are more similar than we are different. So if you are willing to do what it takes, and bear in mind a lot of these guys are totally willing to risk heart attacks at the age of 30, bear that in mind. If you're willing for that, and you're willing to sacrifice God knows what, yeah, then you can become your own version of what you see. Absolutely. You won't be exactly the same because there's too many little idiosyncrasies. But, you know, can you look like that cover model? Yeah. Can you look like that strongman? Yeah. You can look like your own version of that. If you are willing. The willingness has to be there, not just the desire. You can have the desire and think, yeah, you know what? I want that. But have you got the willingness to do what it takes? And if you have, then yes, you can become your own version of what you see. Just whether you're willing to put in whatever it takes. And there's a reason that very few people attain these heights, because they're the few that are willing. So yeah, probably not the answer that people are expecting there, but them's the breaks. Right, see you later.